Hey everyone! I'm sure it's surprising to see me do a video on a terrestrial, but getting straight into it, should you buy Stratifellis? Honestly, yes. Unsurprisingly, as is with many new species, Stratifellis is initially worth the world and then drops into abysmally cheap territory. Currently, the snow leopard sits around 2 to 4k mush. Anything higher and you're likely getting a bad deal. I say this since I tend to base creature worth highly upon their current price. Seeing as Stratifellis is very new, the price is entirely volatile and will likely end up shifting once it becomes unobtainable. Price aside, is Stratifellis any good? Currently, it's mediocre. 230 DPS isn't exactly staggering, especially compared to the many other options we have. It is, understandably, a tier 3, and reminds me a lot of Ghibli with how each bite is critical. That said, we're talking about a terrestrial here, and in a head-to-head fight, it's not terribly reliable, even against its own tier. This is only compounded by the fact that tier 3 terrestrials aren't the most common of species. In my experience, you'll generally see tier 4 plus terrestrials walking around in public servers. Unless you plan to actively stay away from them all, you'll likely die, and I know my viewers prefer to kill. As for dealing with flyers, you have Wing Shredder, sure. The issue is that the 1.3 bite cooldown makes keeping them on the ground extremely unreliable. Even a few frames of it being inactive will allow any self-respecting flyer to escape. This assumes you hit them in the first place as well. Soft landing is really neat in combination with climber, but it won't likely be winning you any fights. If you're interested in cosplaying as a flyer, by all means, this is likely the creature for you. So, I'm sure many of you are asking, why did I bother recommending the creature at the start of the video, and why haven't I talked about Frost Snare yet? To be upfront with you all, I believe you should experience new abilities for yourself. New abilities are, by and large, one of, if not the single best part of updates, especially since they've been traditionally left rather powerful as they're created. Concerning how Stratifellis isn't exactly exceptional in PvP, it's also unlikely that the vast player base actually cares to acquire the species. That said, I would argue it has a higher potential to skyrocket in price, more than most new species at the very least. Many of you are only here for what's good. If so, no, don't buy Stratifellis. But for those of you who readily get bored of creatures of Sonaria, Stratifellis is an extremely cheap option, and from what little I've played as it, I've enjoyed myself thoroughly. Everyone involved in its creation did a fantastic job of making something enjoyable to run around as. Fortunately, my reviews aren't entirely dependent on killing potential, especially so when it comes to a new creature. For the simple fact of it revitalizing the game and offering a new playstyle, it gets bonus points. I feel it would be wise to start rating creatures on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of KOS potential. Stratifellis here gets a rather low 4. It is by no means the worst thing you could pick to KOS with, but concerning the predominantly played species, you won't likely find yourself with a plethora of opportunities to attack. Although I did choose to get Stratifellis, I likely won't continue playing as it. Niche as it is in getting a few laughs from my friends and I'm just not terribly interested in the likes of terrestrials. As many of you can imagine, one of the biggest downsides of Stratifellis for me is that it lacks quick movement. When it comes to maneuvering around an opponent, it's fantastic, but unlike aquatics or flyers, it can't get around the map as readily. For the same reason, I despise playing as behemoths. I don't want my fun to be jeopardized by the fact that I move 1 inch per second. If I had to compare Stratifellis with the likes of another creature, it would be Fleurin. These two aren't necessarily related by any means, other than both being tier 3s. The importance of me showing Fleurin is to point out how rapidly it kills. Stratifellis is just slow? Tier 3 terrestrials seem to be best situated as the tanky side of ankle biters, at least in my opinion. Stratifellis has an unintuitive ability pool that allows it to ankle bite, but does so lacking raw speed value and with a higher HP pool. While this is neat conceptually, it falls flat for me and just feels like it's subpar at achieving the same as Fleurin. In closing, Stratifellis isn't the greatest at PvP, has awkward abilities, and does its job less effectively than others, arguably. Again, I know this entire video has come across as if I'm hating on Stratifellis. I'm really not. Like stated earlier in the video, I very much enjoyed myself whilst playing this creature. I believe it is especially fun when playing with friends. Having a sort of network that prevents you from getting jumped is always going to make creatures of Sonaria more enjoyable, but the sentiment is only strengthened for the likes of terrestrials, seeing as they're more prone to getting caught out than any other species. I would recommend Stratifellis to you all. If you haven't completed the mission or are watching this video after it becomes unobtainable, it was an absolute blast for me, and I feel it will reap the same for you. As always, if you thought the video was at all informative or enjoyable, hit the like button. If you want to continue seeing content about creature reviews and enter giveaways, subscribe. This is my first terrestrial video, so hopefully the comments aren't too harsh. My time with terrestrials is far exceeded by my flyer combat experience, but I continually see people asking me to review certain ones. Thank you as always for watching to the end. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.